Well, good news is that we're under 5 minutes away from the start. That's to be confirmed. And as they prepare, we can also prepare by looking at the leaderboard going into this race. So we've had, well, we haven't quite had half of this race already, but it's as you were, with Francisco Guaragna of Argentina out in front and looking good for gold. A 6-point lead over Stefano Pesquera of Peru. And then comes El Salvador's Enrique Jose Arathun Pacas, back in third with 28 points. Andrew Lewis, though, that's the man all eyes are on, because he is aiming to qualify Trinidad and Tobago and himself to Tokyo 2020. But look at all the Canadian flags behind him. They are the sailors trying to stop him. At the moment, he has a 3-point advantage over Robert Davis. Is that an advantage he can hold on to? It wasn't going well before the race was abandoned. So will he play it differently? Will he come out with different tactics? Well, we shall see in just a few minutes' time. 3 minutes to the start now on this laser medal race, our fourth of the day. Conditions out there now.
We've got about 9.5, 10 knots of breeze again, so the strength is there. This breeze has moved slightly around towards that right-hand side. So we're seeing it more up into about 310, 315. We're still getting a lot of word from the race committee, and also what we're picking up from the analytics. There's big movement still in that wind, and so, you know, by no means does this mean that it's all settled down and we're off and going. No, sailors, you can see the breeze coming down, what it's working its way through those buildings, the gusts, the patches, and as that disturbs the angles, the direction, but also the consistency and strength of that breeze, that's what they're having to face.
Well, at the moment, they're in their sequence, and they're confident that we're going to get things away.
Yeah, so the wind is a little bit unsteady, but at the moment at 310, and there is a starboard advantage on the starting line of about 30 meters, so quite biased. That's why we can see already a few boats bulking up on the top of the screen towards that committee boat. But we've seen already in the earlier races that it can quickly change and shift back to that left-hand side. So I think everybody's keeping their eyes open and trying to figure out from where that first shift is going to come in.
A lot of these sailors looking for their best results in the World Cup Series, really. Many of them we haven't seen in medal races before in the series. So all looking to impress. Under a minute to go. And there is Andrew Lewis out on the right-hand side. 5 Canadian boats. But the ones closest to him on points are Robert Davis, 3 points behind. And 6 points behind is Phila Karim.
Yeah, and Andrew Lewis definitely trying to go for that first spot towards that comedy boat.
They're held right into the corner there and stuff. You can see the 1-8 number just bow forward right alongside that committee boat. Not a lot of breathing space. He's got to hold his position.
Yeah, and still about a 20-meter advantage towards that comedy boat.
So the clock counting down to 0, counting down to our second attempt to get away the laser medal race. And they are go on Biscayne Bay. And it's really close on that centre, in the centre of the line, in the centre of the fleet. We're looking at Joaquin Blanco of Spain with the number 2 on the bow.
Yeah, and we were just talking about the fact that the wind was really changing, but actually, as we speak, the wind is really dropping a little bit and shifting actually 20 degrees towards the left, and that's why the boats that were starting in the middle are now in the advantage. So we're down to 290, and we were just at 310 a few minutes ago. It looks like a little bit less breeze on the right-hand side, and the shift definitely coming in from the left.
Marathon of El Salvador, we just saw in shot. And the Canadians all jostling for position. But Matti Muru, who goes into the race 10th overall, is currently out in front. Early days yet, though. Joaquim Blanco started 9th, currently 2nd. And there's Enrique Pacas of El Salvador. Starts the day 3rd overall, 3rd in this race, holding on to the bronze medal.
Yeah, so those boats, those leading boats, as Evie was saying, support the left-hand shift, now taking that tack back and starting to cruise back towards the middle part of the fleet. Peruvian did a really nice start coming out off that start line. Good speed just underneath Andrew Lewis. Andrew Lewis has got a nice lane down a few boats just shy of him. He's just trying to get bow forward on a few of these boats. He's going to be late into this second or next shift. So
Guaragna of Argentina, our overall leader, sitting 6th. He's had a good week. He's already got 2 victories under his belt. They've had 7 races, and only once was he off the podium. So Pancha, as he's known, going really well here in Miami this week. But it's Matti Muru of Canada, who hasn't been quite so consistent through the week, but is doing the business in the medal race, in the early stages of the medal race right now, out in front, ahead of Blanco of Spain and Hugh McRae of Canada.
So yeah, who is going to win this race in this regatta? It's one thing, but we're also following the battle for the nation spot, and there's a battle between Andrew Lewis and the squad of Canadians, and they're both quiet, or all of them are more or less in the back of the fleet. But as things stand right now, Andrew Lewis is still holding on to that nation spot for Tokyo 2020, although he's in 6th position.
Yeah. The Canadian who's closest to being able to snatch that position from Andrew Lewis is Robert Davis, who starts the race 3 points behind.
just looking at all of the boat and the tracks from the analytics, there's a big left-hand shift sort of creeping in and just on a big header as they're moving down. So the boat's over towards that right-hand side, starting to get a little bit more favoritism now. The boats on this hard left side are all on quite a significant knock towards that right side. 10-15 degrees towards that right again, which is where you're seeing them then take this tack.
But it looks like on the left side there's just a little bit more breeze, where Joaquim Blanco and Matti Muro are. They're going 1 to 2 knots faster.
Yeah, so in shot, Trinidad and Tobago, the right-hand side, Andrew Lewis. The Canadian at the in the center of the screen there is Matti Muru. But it's Robert Davis who Andrew Lewis will be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, but actually the wind is shifting again, and we saw that there was a big lefty coming in, but actually right now the wind is going all the way back to the right, and that's why Hugh McRae from Canada is in the lead. He's almost the furthest both on the right-hand side, and the wind is going back to 315 now, and it's possibly going to go
Still
even
moving.
further.
Yeah.
Well, Hugh McRae's move up to the front means that Andrew Lewis now needs to make up some places, because he's slipped out of the qualification spot.
And we're almost, I think, on that ley line. So as things stand, everything has changed.
We're back to, you know, nearly 25, 30 degrees again towards that right-hand side. So it's why they're all sitting in that right side. And so actually where Andrew Lewis is positioning himself in that middle, he's not actually losing a huge amount when he's tacking onto that shift, but he's not in that sort of high-risk position where he's making big gains or big losses. He's just holding his position at the moment, but now we can see him just starting to struggle for pace in that midsection, and these boats climbing out underneath him by this big shift.
These boats pushing 5 knots now. The majority still just under that speed.
Yeah, and the first boat's definitely coming from that right-hand side, and from the analytics, the wind is going further and further towards the right. So we were at 290, and now we're at 325, or maybe even a little bit more towards the right.
Yeah, I'd say they're all quite potentially over this ley line, and so now just dropping that bow down and using that bit of speed, so going into that sort of lower mode and just using that speed. But in this breeze, we've got breeze clicking in on this right side as well, up to 11 knots, but you can see those patches. Here they come straight in.
So the split fleet converging now on this top mark, with the Spanish coming in at the bottom of the screen. But round first is Hugh McRae of Canada.
Going in for the early jibe as well.
Stefano Pesquera of Peru, our overall leader, still holding on to that gold medal.
And we can see this, just the dark spot right on top of the screen. That's where the pressure is, and that's where everybody's going. You can see that everybody's going towards that left-hand side, except for Andrew Lewis, who is going the opposite way now. Just, yeah, we can see him just right there on the top right.
So give us, orientate us with the bottom gate.
So the bottom gate is actually at the top of the screen, and we can't really see it from here. But it looks like, yeah, the majority of the fleet is going towards that left-hand side, because the wind was definitely in the right-hand corner going upwind. But we've also seen it going back and forth, so it's only a matter of time before it's going to go back. And Andrew Lewis, he has to do something. He has to pull something off to climb back up, or, you know, to defend his position. As things stands now, he is actually on equal points with Hugh McRae, but because McRae is in the lead, he'll be taking that spot. So very exciting downwind and very exciting rest of the race.
Andrew Lewis has fire in his belly, and he's going to need all that heat to close the gap on Hugh McRae and move his way up the fleet. Currently sitting 6th. So, a really close battle at the moment for that final qualification space. But the race being led by Hugh McRae, Stefano Pesquera of Peru really challenging him though. And Matimuru of Canada, where he started 10th overall, he's out of the medal hunt. Meanwhile, here on the boat park, a cheer goes up because they're starting the podium presentation of the radial winners. What a race that was. Won by Nethra Kumanan of India, who is now being presented with a bronze medal. But on the water, it's all about whether they can catch Hugh McRae.
Yeah, and Hugh McRae sailing a solid downwind and going fairly quick. And it's actually, the battle is going on between Hugh McRae and Andrew Lewis, or actually Andrew Lewis and the boats in front of him. And he's going to try to do everything he can to climb up the leaderboard a little bit, because as things stand, he is not going for that nation spot.
No, he needs to find something a little bit more now to climb through, positioning himself over towards more of the centre of the course. Little cluster of boats, all just hoping to distract away from him and being able to sail his race. This breeze still starting. It started to click back towards the left, but now started to creep back towards the right. So it has moved 25, nearly 30 degrees over towards that right. So I'm sure when we get down towards this bottom gate, we'll probably hear that sound signal of the course being skewed.
Yeah, but I think it's going back and forth. I mean, we are just seeing 35-degree shifts. That's what we've seen now for the last 2 races, I would say. And it's going to be crucial to take that right gate and to make sure to be on that first good shift and to really choose your moment going on that first tack.
So midway through this first downwind leg, and Hugh McRae still out in front, trying to build on his lead. Hitting about 5.5 knots as we watch Andrew Lewis of Trinidad and Tobago round that through the bottom gate now.
And you can hear the sound, so it's definitely a change of course.
So the hooter, a change of course, there's confirmation of that from the race officials.
Towards the right, so what we've been saying, so we were at 290 and now we're at 325, so they've definitely moved that mark a little bit more, 35 degrees more towards the right. And that's also the main reason why most of the sailors are taking this gate.
So we're at the halfway stage of this race. Andrew Lewis needs to at least gain 1 place if Hugh McRae remains out in front where he is at the moment. But what about the battle for gold in this medal race? At the moment, Francisco Guaragna started with a 6-point advantage over the rest of the fleet and is doing just enough to hold on to gold.
Yeah, so as things stand, he has a 2-point lead over Stefano Peschiera, but still half a race to go. So
no change at the moment to the top 3 in the overall standings. The 2014 national champion in the radial before moving up, as is often the way, moving up to the bigger boat.
Tricky conditions with that lighter breeze in that in-between stage where you're sort of hiked when there's a little bit of breeze comes in, sliding back in, just trying to keep that momentum going.
yeah, so we can see that the majority of the fleet is somehow positioned in the middle, and we can see that Andrew Lewis is a little bit more towards that right-hand side. And from the analytics, we can see that he's actually going quite high, and he's on a lift on that right-hand side. So it will be interesting to see if he will be able to climb some spots in the ranking because of this move. Yeah, so on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see Andrew Lewis on much more towards the right compared to the others. At the top of the screen, you can see the top mark. So we're actually approaching ley line already. So it'll be interesting to see what the wind does at this point, if it's going to turn further to the right or if it's going to head back a little bit to the left. And from the analytics, we can see that it's going a little bit to the left right now, but hard to say from here.
Meanwhile, at the front, the Peruvian has just sneaked ahead of Hugh McRae.
And Andrew Lewis is surely but slowly climbing up as well and is now in 4th position.
Well, that 1 extra place for the Peruvian would sit him on equal points with the Argentinian at the moment, but with that medal race win, that would decide it. So very, very tight battle going on for the gold and silver medal at the moment.
Very tight for the medals and very tight for that final national qualification spot. Hugh McRae out in front, but only just. Stefano Peschiera right beside him. Enrique Pacas of El Salvador in 3rd. Andrew Lewis has now moved up to 4th.
Great battle for this gold medal going on, and sitting on this long starboard tack due to this breeze, sitting over towards this right-hand side, the odd nudge towards that right, but here comes a little bit of a left and suddenly they'll little tack. But look how dark that patch is over towards that right-hand side, that extra sort of pressure. Andrew Lewis will be one of the first to sort of get across towards that where he's positioned himself. Also Davis. So those boats now starting to climb up. Andrew Lewis right alongside the Argentinian, lifting in on that left side. And also we saw on that shot before, that breeze that they'll be able to tap in towards the right.
Yeah, and wind really going to 305, so definitely in that left-hand quarter, and they're taking the advantage, the ones that we're seeing at the top, and that it's Argentina and Hugh McCrane. Yeah, it's too early to say. I think we have to wait until they will cross at that top mark.
Yeah, McRae looks like he's been able to come up on that inside, on that lift. So good position not to put yourself too far towards that left-hand side and that ley line.
5 Canadian boats started, and the last 4 are all Canadian. Hugh McRae flying the flag in 2nd place. Andrew Lewis trying to move up the fleet to qualify his country. At the moment, he's done enough. No change to the overall medals.
And the wind is continuing to go further left, so Hugh McCrane back in the lead here. Feeling a really, really good race.
Yeah, but Andrew Lewis just creeping up on that leeward side on the Argentinian.
So our leaders around that top mark: Hugh McRae, Enrique Pacas of El Salvador, round in 2nd, Stefano Pesquera in 3rd. But it's really close, and this is a really difficult race to call as they head downwind. Andrew Lewis is going to just come into shot. The man from Trinidad and Tobago in 4th place. Our overall leader right behind him at this top mark. And which way would you go downwind?
Looking at where this breeze is, I would keep on going on this starboard jibe for the meantime.
But I would say, looking downwind, a little bit more towards the right-hand side. Just because the wind is definitely in that left angle at the moment.
And the clouds growing in numbers. You spotted that earlier, Corky. The sky kind of changing all the time. Right, we're with the leaders. There's Hugh McRae and Enrique Pacas. And slowly but surely, Andrew Lewis edging forward through the pack.
That's it, he's sat on that inside line.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think he's trying to play it a little bit conservative, not going too close to the others to stay away from the wind shadow, and making sure that he has that inside advantage at that final mark, and just trying to go for maximum speed right now. Because as things stand, he's securing that nation spot.
But let's not lose sight of the medals here in Miami, because Stefano Pesquera, who started 2nd overall, has now done enough to take the gold if he can hold on to this position. More to the point, if Francisco Guaragna doesn't move up. So Guaragna, or Pancha as he's known, really has to stay in touch with Pesquera or risk losing that gold.
Yeah, and definitely some tricky conditions. We can see that the wind is dropping a little bit. It was up to 12, 13 knots, and I think it's now down to 7, 8 knots.
boat speed in the top left corner for you and compare how they're doing. And really, the leaders are leading because they are going fastest. Now, Andrew Lewis slipped down to 5th, but Hugh McRae is 3rd. So Andrew Lewis still with this, with the advantage in this qualifying battle. And the Argentinian has regained the gold medal position from Stefano Peschiera.
This is where we saw the pressure mount in the laser radials, where just in these final dying seconds where you're just trying to make up those spaces. Boats, you're looking able to eyeball to everyone, and just now trying to find that extra little bit of pressure, extra little bit of speed out of your boat, and that's where you can push the rules that little bit far. So keeping an eye on all of them as they start to cluster together in this final section of this run.
So the leaders head towards the bottom gate. Then we're expecting a reach to the finish line. This is the man who started 3rd overall, the man from El Salvador, Enrique Pacas. Right now, holding on to the lead in this medal race. But look, it keeps changing between the 1st overall and 2nd overall. Keeps changing between Stefano Peschiera, Peru, and Francisco Guaragna of Argentina. So this is really a fight right to the end for gold and silver.
Ooh, and a penalty turn for Pacas. So Peschiera just passing him, I think.
Yeah, but doing well to stay, you know, in 2nd place.
That's
putting
that could be
in
the
gold medal
move. That
position.
could be
Exactly.
exactly that. Peschiera can, from that penalty, jump one more place, and now it applies huge pressure to the Argentinian to make that gain and stuff. So, what a maneuver
We're
again!
seeing
It's
a
all the
replay from
penalty
the
is
laser
just coming
radial
back,
race,
and that
yeah.
penalties and the pressure being applied. Whether you can keep a cool head or whether you push it that little bit hard.
So after all the snakes and ladders of the lead, it's Stefano Peschiera of Peru who heads towards the finish line in the lead, ahead of Enrique Pacas of El Salvador. Hugh McRae of Canada now moved up into 3rd, but look who's right behind him, Andrew Lewis of Trinidad and Tobago. And if things remain as they are, the Trinidadian will go to Tokyo 2020. But right now, let's keep an eye on the winners of this medal race. The leading pack, the Peruvian Stefano Peschiera, started 2nd overall and has had a really good race. He's kept calm, he's kept cool, he wins the medal race, and that could be the gold medal for the Peruvian. Enrique Pacas crosses the line in 2nd, gets silver for El Salvador, or bronze. What will it be? We'll have to keep an eye on where the Argentinian finishes. Hugh McRae comes across the line in 3rd place. Where is Andrew Lewis? Is he that man in 4th? The data's telling us it is. And if it is, Andrew Lewis crosses the line in this laser medal race in Miami. He crosses the line in 4th. He smacks his boat. He celebrates going to Tokyo 2020. He is so emotional. It means so much to him. He said he had fire in his belly. And what a comeback he has made. It's an epic story of resilience. And for him, qualifying for the Olympic Games this summer means just so much. Trinidad and Tobago will be going to the Olympics again in the sailing. Andrew Lewis will be at Tokyo 2020. Now, Hugh McRae put in a good performance, but what about Robert Davis and Phil Karim of Canada? They were the best placed Canadians going into this race to snatch that qualification spot, and they will be so disappointed with their performance.
Yeah, I think this was a difficult race. The first race was playing out completely different with them actually in the front. And then they had to reset the course and sail the race again. And it turned out completely different than that first race. So definitely a very hard moment for them. But hopefully much more opportunities are coming at the coming Worlds. And they'll have another chance to qualify their country.
Now, we'll have it confirmed in a moment as Andrew Lewis takes a swim and celebrates in the waters of Biscayne Bay. We'll confirm it in a moment. But Pesquera took gold, and by my reckoning, Francisco Guaragna of Argentina did manage to do enough to hold on to silver, with Enrique Pacas of El Salvador taking the bronze. But look at those celebrations. And many of these guys train together, sail together, share their coaches, and you can see what it means to them, representing different nations, but together as a team of sailors. Something tells me we're not getting an interview with Andrew Lewis. Well, he came and spoke to us in the studio before heading off for his race, and we saw just how emotional it was for him, how much it meant for him. And there is confirmation that Andrew Lewis finished 4th overall, enough to seal a place at Tokyo 2020. Well done to Stefano Pesquera then of Peru, started 2nd overall, took the gold in the end. Francisco Guaragna of Argentina slipped to silver, and bronze goes to El Salvador's Enrique Pacas. And it's 5th, 6th, 7th, 9th and 10th in the end for the 5 Canadians taking part.